Modern racing challenges are certainly plentiful to mimic here on the iRacing service. Famous events such as the Indy 500, 24 Hours of Le Mans, Daytona 500, or Bathurst 1000 have been recreated many times over. But current day races are not the only ones that can provide a challenge to the drivers. With a handful of vintage cars able to be taken onto the tarmac, why not place one of them into their natural habitat as well? Today, we'll do just that as we get ready to watch the Majors Classic British Grand Prix, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Sean Ambrose. Next to him is our good friend Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, we've covered the Lotus 79 quite a bit here on GSRC, so it feels right to get to call a full-length Grand Prix for it, especially at its home track. Tell us about Silverstone.
Well, this is the place. This is the home of British motorsports racing. Originally, this was a track used for 1940s for World War II bombers. In fact, in 1948, the Royal Auto Club decided to use this for its first Grand Prix in 1948. Nowadays, we use it now for a 3.1 mile course, or 5 kilometers, 16 turns, and is now home to some of the biggest names in motorsports, from Formula One, World Endurance Championship, and Blancpain GT. But tonight is about the Lotus 79. So before we get started with tonight's race, let's take a hot lap in the Global Sim Racing Challenge Lotus 79.
All right, we've got Juha Norlampi and the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Silverstone. Coming down to Copse, this is a wicked fast corner in this car. Pass attempts will only come from the brave or the foolish. Where the car winds up determines which you were. Coming off the corner, bring it to the right for the best line into the Maggots-Beckett sequence. This set of S's starts with quicker corners that get slower as you go. Being able to keep your speed up to produce more grip from the ground effects will be important through here. Ideally, you want to set yourself up for the launch off the final right-hander, and once you blast through Chapel, you'll see why. The Lotus tends to punch a big hole in the air, and with the length and speed of the hanger straight feeding that, cars will get a giant slipstream. Expect plenty of pass attempts down into Stowe. The problem is, it's got a pretty short braking zone. Plus, if you can carry your speed around the outside, sometimes drivers will be able to fight back on the run-up to Vale. Unfortunately, in the historic layout, it's a fast sweeper with a narrow line into Club. That means drivers will want to sort it out instead of attempting a too-wide entry. Off of Club, once again, your exit will be critical to the lap. The historic layout removes the Abbey chicane and returns it to its traditional fast kink. Passes might once again take place, but the grip of the 79 makes bridge frighteningly quick. That does make it easier to take a wider entry into Priory, where the more technical final few turns of the course begin. But if there's one thing this car isn't a fan of, it's low-speed turns. It takes a gentle right foot without the downforce to help you out with this beast's immense power. The main thing is to set yourself up for the run out of Luffield. You can see how tough it is to get on the gas. Woodcote is easily flat out, and as you come across the line, you've now finished a lap around Silverstone.
A little bit of a more sunny day when we did our lap guide around here. So a little bit more typical British weather for the race today. Now, we have a championship, multiple championships, actually, I should say, that we cover in the major series just within this Pacific split, specifically, in fact. And Sean, the big one that everybody wants is the Mario Andretti Drivers' Cup. And where does that stand?
Well, here's where we sit in the Pacific region right now. It's Blake Reynolds in command. 1,185 points. Jason Fleischle up in a second now after his last performance there. Only 46 points behind. Vince Labriere up on the top 5 now, sitting in third, just 62 points behind. And we're great. We've got a little bit of gridlock here between Callisto and Christian Challoner. Yeah, that Christian Challoner. Tied for 4th right now. And Callisto, the little train, having some pretty good results last round. And here he is now up into 4th.
They also keep track of teams that these drivers are able to put together. Now, in the past few years in this series, it's been pretty much the regular players up in front. This season, with them inviting literally the entire world, boy, has it gotten shaken up. Alliance is still up at the top, but Kinetic Pacific still giving a very good challenge. And boy, with Laherbier and Challoner and some other big names in there, they are certainly looking to try and overtake that first spot, and could, even though that 283 seems like a lot of points, it really isn't. Just look at the rest of them farther down. 609 back to the second Alliance team, Alliance Evolution. Ride Shotgun Motorsports sits in 4th, a little bit lower than we're used to seeing them in the team's championship, and unfortunately today, unlikely to make much progress there, as they only have one driver from the top team in the pro split. Sean, it's not just the Mario Andretti Drivers' Championship that is up for grabs, but also the Dan Gurney Sportsman Championship.
Yes, we want to give those guys that are running in the sportsman class an opportunity to fight for something. So, well, Dick Miller doing a really, really good job early on here. 916 points. Rob Powers moving up to 2nd. Now he's being closely followed by Nick Kuhn, the guy he overtook there. Kuhn just 5 points behind Powers there. Yeah, Ernie Ludwig, who is now into the top 5 for Northern Lights White, just 93 points behind the leader. Mark Redeker taking a little bit of a tumble now, 109 points back, but still got Ernie Ludwig there in reach to fight with, Joe.
And you might be wondering why they have so many championships in this series. Well, they want to give everybody something to fight for, including those with maybe a few more years under their belts. And that brings us to the Legends Championship. Brian Bennett leading the way. This is for drivers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 55 years and older. He's actually very closely followed by Brian Barnes, only 67 points back with a lot of the season yet to go. It's even tighter from 2nd to 3rd. Beltrami back there having jumped up 1 position. It's Jimbo Pfeiffer with a bad last race who slots down 2 spots, but still very close in that almost 3-way tie for 2nd place. Wayne Hutchison, a little bit of a jump back, sitting there in 5th, but just finding his way onto the top 5 graphic. Now, since every race is different with new cars, new tracks around this series, the Majors plays a lot of different cars and types of racing. Why don't we throw to Taylor to familiarize ourselves with what today's race entails?
Well, this race is round 8 of a 14-season race schedule. We're using the car of the Lotus 79. Setups, like always, are always going to be an open setup race. The race length is about 64 laps, a full distance Grand Prix. And of course, there might be bound to be mistakes throughout the race tonight, so Pacific Major Series has decided to give them one spare car to use in case an incident happens. But hopefully, these guys won't need to be using that tonight.
The interesting thing about this, we looked at the track that we're using. Even though it is Silverstone, at least the Silverstone before the 2010 makeover, Sean, we should note that it's the historic layout of Silverstone.
Yeah.
And that, to me, says one thing. It's taking away a few obvious passing opportunities. So really, where can they pass here? I have to imagine it makes it a lot more difficult.
The trip down the Hangar Straight is going to be a great opportunity if you get a good run out of Chapel, which, that's one of the things about the Lotus 79. Getting back to the power can be a little tricky sometimes. A lot of torque on this race car, a lot of horsepower. So you get a good run down the Hangar Straight. Stowe is going to be a really good opportunity for an overtaking there. Then maybe Priory is going to be your next best opportunity. You got to get through Abbey well, turn 11, get through the Farm Straight, over bridge, and down into Priory. You might have a good advantage on someone if you hit that complex really well and take advantage of some missed opportunities by your opponents down there.
And opportunities will abound when mistakes do happen. And I know you spent some time out in the car there, Taylor. What are some of the most difficult parts about both this place and this car?
Well, especially going to be difficult is trying to get the power down, especially going through corners such as Maggot, Beckett, and Chapel Curve, and getting back on the power out of Chapel Curve onto the Hangar Straight. You are very likely to lose the car if you do not hit your marks. Also, going through Lovefield, that is probably one of the slowest corners to be going through, so you have to make sure that you hold your line as best as you can. Otherwise, you're either going to be washed up the track and lose a lot of position or a lot of time.
Now, we were supposed to have 28 drivers out here today for this round of the Majors. Unfortunately, we're missing one in particular that we're sad to see not to take part, especially because he's fighting for his second championship potentially here in the Majors, and that is Jason Fleischle. Now, the unfortunate reason is because a very close friend of his, Trevor Martin, is very sick with colon cancer right now. And because of the emotional weight that is weighing on Jason, he had to step away from his rig, take some time away to really both take care of himself and to be there for his friend. So our thoughts go out both out to Jason and Trevor. Jason even had a livery whipped up for this, giving a special message of support for Trevor, and unfortunately won't get to race it. So thoughts definitely go out to them, and hope to see both Trevor get better and Jason back out on the track soon. Now, we talked about some of the teams and whatnot. Jason being an Alliance driver, obviously that gives a blow to them. I have made quick mention of the riding shotgun guys. They do have multiple drivers here with a couple talking points worth bringing up. We're used to seeing Blake Reynolds up there at the top competing, but he's not exactly showing so hot here in the warm-up. And he's that one driver I mentioned on their #1 team that has made it to it. They do have a second one from their lower team. Supposed to do well here, Sean. We haven't seen him in a while, though. Clark Archer has returned, and this is good timing because he's known as their road ringer.
Yeah, they need him today. They need Clark. They need Clark to put in a strong performance. Now, I don't think we've seen Clark at all this season, have we?
Once. He showed up at the Daytona race for the 2.4,
right,
and that's
okay.
it.
Now, Clark won the Le Mans 2.4 last year in the Majors event last year. And let's see. Okay, so he was in the opening Daytona 2.4 and has been on a bit of a hiatus for personal reasons since then. But he is ready for this one. Got the European vacation behind him, Joe. It's in the mirror, and the checkered flag is in front of him.
European vacation behind him, so he shows up in England anyway. At least here in the virtual world. Let's see how Clark can do. He's actually lower than Blake Reynolds right now. We'll see how that goes over the course of the race.
And he snaps there. A little loss of grip there. That's getting through. Had a little trouble getting through Stowe.
Now, one thing that I'm very curious to see, and though I don't think we have any regulars from the CTC, the Classic Teams Championship that we covered earlier today here on the Global Sim Racing channel. But one thing, Taylor, that I think is very important in this car is experience. It's such a specialist car, a very unique car, and the way it drives. I mean, how much do you think that makes a difference out there? Do you think we'll see a bit of a shakeup from our regular finishing order due to anybody having more seat time in this car?
We might. It's going to be a very difficult situation to see as we see these drivers trying to handle the course. But it's going to be interesting to watch how they are able to handle it.
Yes, and we'll get a good idea as the race goes on. A lot of these drivers have put in a lot of practice to try and get fast out there. The other big question, Sean, that we're wondering about is how many stops, if any stops, drivers will do. Now, we've had a bit of a chance to try and get a feel for it from the other races with apparently a couple of the other winners doing a single stop. But what do you think about here? Is that going to be mimicked, or will drivers be taking a chance?
Well, car probably shouldn't need a fuel stop, but I think it might come down to tire management. I'm going to agree with one of the drivers in this race who thinks it's maybe going to be just one stop because tires are going to be an issue, and maybe even halfway during the race. So, and as much of a difference as about a second and a half faster. So with the better tires. So, Joe, I really think it's going to come down to that more than it is to fuel. To be very honest with you, and just make a point. We talked about practice laps. I think Clark in the pro split, I think it was Clark Archer with 592 laps registered in practice preparing for this race.
Wow. That is some incredible stuff. I did have a little birdie, one of the drivers, talk to me before the race, and he did say that fuel made a difference in the car handle, the way the car handles from the start to the finish of the stint. And he was having a difficult time getting the car set up to be good on both. So I kind of wonder if maybe some drivers will actually take fuel. And that does make a difference in the pit stops. He said it was up to 8 seconds difference in the pit stop on if you took fuel onto the car. So, well, it is a curious one. And as the grid is now ready with practice over, let's go through that. Dick Mueller is going to be on the front. Christian Challoner going to be on the pole with Travis Warling starting in second. Steve Driscoll is third with Vincent Leherbier fourth. Dallas Pataska starts in fifth on row 3. He's flanked by Mark Torres. Bobby Zelensky is back for seventh place on the grid with Scott Corbin 8th, Cameron Dance 9th, and Dick Mueller 10th.
All right, we got Lionel Calisto lining up 11th, Richie Hearn lining up 12th, Blake Reynolds 13th, 14th, going to go to Jimbo Pfeiffer, Trevor Clement 15th, 16th, Brian Bennett, Brian McGreevy 17th, Clark Archer 18th, Brian Barnes 19th, 20th to Bob Beltrami. Travis, take the last 6.
All right, looking at the last 6 positions going on, we have Dale Green starting in the 21st position.
Wayne Hutchison, sorry, is in
Wayne
21st. There we go. Sorry, yeah, we get a little bit of wrong information from iRacing. Ray Partridge, 22nd. Rob Gall, 23rd. Gustavo Cianferrari, 24th. Jess Schmeier, 25th. And there is our grid. One driver short. Green flag is out. And let's see how they are off the start. Standing start in this series. Some drivers might not be used to that. Travis Warling looking very good, trying to stay right on the back of Christian Challoner. Driscoll gets a nice little breakaway from Vincent Leherbier. We already have cars spinning off.
Oh boy.
No tires on these cars, no warmers.
Looks like Bobby Zelensky and Gustavo Safarni that just got loose off the corner, going out of Scott.
Oh, and Clark Archer's already through the grass, so almost gets into the car coming by. I think that was Jeff Schmeier he almost got into. Archer saves it.
Bit of a chaotic start here for some drivers. Thankfully, a long race with 64 laps to try and come back through the field. We saw one driver in there trying to duck to the inside. I believe that was Cameron Dance on Dallas Pataska. now working their way through Vale and Club. What would normally lead to a passing opportunity, but this being the historic version, they swing through the Abbey Kink, the old version, back when it went through a left-hander, and here under bridge down into Priory offers another chance for a pass. Let's see if anybody tries to duck in. Looks pretty single file for now. I think Wayne Hutchison got one over James Stacy. First lap completed now. Your order for the top 5 as they cross the line: Challoner, Driscoll, Warling, Pataska, and Dance.
And Joe, it's a good battle for 9th right now. Blake Reynolds and Callisto both up several spots here on the start.
Good to see that some drivers are able to make some up there. So we watch them weaving their way through the Maggots-Beckett sequence. Not a whole lot of braking through there with the ground effects that these cars have. And then it's streaming down the backstretch. They go once again. We're watching a battle, I believe. Is that Reynolds that we're looking at there? It's Reynolds trying to chase down Lionel Callisto. Hard to make them out a little bit through this fog. The weather not playing nice for the broadcasters today.
Now, as Bobby Zielinski decides to pull down pit road, he's going to try to get that nose damage repaired. So hopefully he's able to come back on the track, as Blake Reynolds is now going to make a run on Callisto as they go out of Club into Abbey. So let's look like they're going to make a dash down to the bridge corner. Reynolds is going to look to the inside, but Callisto is going to hold him off.
A little bit of a wide slide from Callisto. Still, Reynolds doesn't get the opportunity. They slow up through the final technical section. Through Brooklands, another big slide from Callisto. This, however, is going to put Reynolds to the outside of Luffield. Can he get the run off the quarter? They are side by side, wheel to wheel as they cross the line. And coming through Copse, it is a fast right-hander. Reynolds not in a good position to take this away unless he goes for the over-under. He can't get to the apex, has to duck out a little bit as Reynolds fends him off for now. Sounds like we've got the replay spooled up to try and figure out what happened in that first lap incident.
Yeah, we're going to look at the Bobby Zielinski incident first. And it just obviously doesn't. He's in the orange car right there, and you can see the car just kind of snapped on him.
Yeah, just terrible incident for Zielinski, just losing it like that. Just shows you the power of those cars and how difficult it can be to handle them.
Oh, and how little grip they've got when they first start off the line. Here's Clark Archer. Did he have some help, or was it a similar issue? He's coming up to Maggots-Beckett's here, riding, looking over his shoulder, dives it in there. Oh, yeah, just a little too wide, overcompensated.
Yeah, and boy, it was really, the margin was narrow getting back on track for sure.
Cars do behave very differently, as I mentioned, from the start of the race to the end. Go ahead.
Pataska on the move here. He just... Wait, here he comes now up along Steve Driscoll.
This is a pass for second. Pataska's got the inside coming down into Copse. He gets it done. And these two battling has brought Travis Warling up onto the back of Driscoll as well. The Pink Panther now under threat as it weaves its way in there, and Travis has to give it up. Here comes Cameron Dance, who gets a nice run on him, sneaks to the inside.
Look at that by Dance. Jeez, he just got it right in there.
Oh, but it goes back in favor through Trapple for Travis Worley. Now it's a three-way battle. Here comes Le Herbier. 3 wide down to Stowe. To the inside, it's going to be Dance. Can he get it done? And I think he's got it. 2 positions lost for Travis Worley Travis Worley as Le Herbier gets through 2.
It looks like, though, that Warling is going to try to go to the outside as they go down through Club now into the Abbey Circuit, but is not able to make the pass. Cameron Dance, though, just put a stellar performance as LeHerb tries to make a move down as they head into bridge.
Mark Torres getting a show back there or what? Well, he's got a show in his mirror now because here comes Scott Corbin.
Oh, but Worling sticks it to the inside of Le Herbier, the Canadian, trying to hold on. That Torres is one of the teammates of Leherbier here. He's probably going to want to try and help him out, see if he can distract the car of Whirling. But Whirling with a fantastic launch off of Luffield, getting the power down on this Lotus 79. He's going to have a nose ahead, but not the inside. And finally, back into line goes the Canadian.
Man, Herbie has got a lot to that.
Started.
Oh, there he goes.
Whirling with trouble. Oh, he's off into the grass. No damage, no contact, but boy, oh, careful getting back on there.
Keeps it out of the wall. Let's look at the replay on this one. I think just a little bit, off into the AstroTurf there on the outside, and that robbed him of grip. Benson's got a great eyeful of this. Let's watch this. This has got to be a little bit hair-raising when you see that car come back across the track like that.
You never know if it's going to snap back right in front of you, right? So you're guessing there. I go left, I go right, or I just stay in the throttle. That Days of Thunder moment almost.
Exactly. Oh, Cameron Dance has another run on Driscoll. They're coming through Abbey. Dance is going to have the inside through Bridge, but it's going to switch to the outside of Priory. I don't think he's going to need it, though, because Driscoll drops back before they hit the braking.
Nice move by Dance as they go down into... Driscoll's going to make a move now at the moment. As they go down.
Around Luffield. And Driscoll can't do anything to try and get that spot back. Remember, he was much farther up than this just a couple laps ago. Clearly going backwards. Might be trying to just run his pace. But with all that fighting, we should mention, remember, this was kicked off by Dallas Pataska. Not only has he gotten into second place, but he has put a 3-second gap between himself and Dance.
I got a big development for you. Blake Reynolds just picked up another spot. He's in 7th. He passed Mark Torres like he was standing still there. He is quickly catching Scott Corbin. Reynolds just about a second faster than most of the cars in front of him right now, except for maybe our top 3. Watch out. Blake on the way, on his horse there for riding shotgun.
Number 66, sporting the iconic wooden livery that they usually run for that team. Sean, with the Lotus known for Chapman cutting corners, would that be balsa wood that they're using on that car?
Well, it's definitely not teak wood, so I'm thinking yes, balsa might be right.
Up at the front, our leader is still Christian Challoner. And actually, that's come down a little bit since I last looked. It was a little over 3 seconds between the 94 of Dallas and the 78 of Christian. It is now 2.8.
Christian Challoner is trying to pull his best away, but Dallas is closing in as fast as we can. Let's see what the times are as they come to the start-finish line. Looks like Christian ran a 28.86. Dallas ran a 28.65, so he is moving in on Christian Challoner as they go down through Cops.
2/10 faster on that lap alone. Remember, though these two are not teammates here in the majors, they are teammates out in the Pro Series. Elsewhere on iRacing. I'm sure they've worked together a little bit.
Maybe shared a little bit of info, possibly.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't doubt it at all. They're looking at our leader in the 78. Sporting actually a very cool, looks like kind of a classic shadow livery if I'm looking at it right. Tell you what, Vincent Leherbier is on the back of Driscoll now that Dance has gotten by Driscoll. This is a close fight that they've got going coming out of club. Ooh, great run here from Leherbier. Around the outside of Abbey. He knows this is going to switch back in his favor through Bridge. We've seen this before with Driscoll, and just like last time, he loses the position. Here comes Scott Corbin, ducking down to the inside. Oh, tries to stick his nose in, but can't do it.
Archer just had a moment. Archer is off, and I think into the wall.
Oh, no.
He was battling with Bennett. And, boy, it snapped on him. I don't think that was, there was no contact here.
Big damage on the rear of that car. Yeah, it looked like a bump just got him. Maybe a little bit of grass, too, as Archer gets into the danger zone. I know you got that reference, Sean. I know you did.
Now I can't get the riff out of my head. I'm Kenny Loggins for the rest of this race. Great.
Yeah, he's going to need that backup car by the looks of it.
I'm sure he's grateful for that. That engine is smoking bad. With this being a mid-engine car, unfortunately, hitting rear first means that he did a lot. Oh, and he actually just blew the engine, I believe, as that smoke is now gone. Well, now he's definitely going to need a tow.
Yeah.
Let's jump back a little bit farther in the mid-pack to see some of the action happening there, because there's plenty. Brian Bennett sitting in 16th has Jeff Schmeier in that 667 all over the top of him. Well, if these two start going at it, James Stacy is there ready to pick up the pieces.
So Stacy took a peek there on Schmeier. Just a peek.
Yeah, he's holding on to him. Let's stay on this battle, but we've got a thought from the peanut gallery here. Some are wondering if Driscoll is going to try a one-stop strategy and is just nursing the car.
That could be a smart move.
Yeah, I think so too.
We ride on the nose of Stacy. You get a good sense of how much these cars slide around. And that's what always amazes me about these cars, Taylor, is that despite the amount of downforce, they're very slidey.
They are. They're very slidey. They're very twitchy, especially going through those lower speed corners. If you don't watch it and make sure you don't put too much gas into it, you're going to lose that car real quickly. So you got to make sure that you put light throttle on, put in there. Otherwise, you're just going to lose it every time, especially in that slower corner, such as Luffield.
Get a pass for fifth.
Yeah, Scott Corbin getting around Steve Driscoll. Getting a little bit of a run at him here.
I think, was this out of Chapel?
Yes,
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Made it nice and easy for him down the hanger straight. Not that Driscoll really wanted to make it easy for him, but the 54 up to
Driscoll's
P5
now. He's got Blake Reynolds all up his gearbox.
Yeah, Blake Reynolds trying to make a move as they go down into Pryor and down into the next to Brooklands now. As it looks like Driscoll is going to try to catch up a little bit on Scott Corbin as they go down through Luffield, but Scott Corbin is slowly pulling away. So it looks like Scott might be able to pull away and move on to the next position.
Yeah, he's well clear at this point. I'm starting to think there's some credence to this theory, because remember, Driscoll qualified in third. It's not like he doesn't know how to go fast in this car.
Yeah, but you know, that big peanut in the peanut gallery says that he's been super fast all week. So I don't know. Yeah.
Blake Reynolds all over the back of him now. So we ride on board with the ride and shotgun driver. Might be catching little flashes of the Pink Panther marked on the car, and I might have to tell that story a little bit later, because this Reynolds going to make a move. No, he lifts, and that's going to bring Mark Torres up to the back of these two. Here's where it looks like maybe Reynolds is going to go for it. Gets right under the gearbox, but Vail doesn't offer a whole lot of braking in this layout. Sets himself up a little bit wide, coming off the corner of Club. Goes Steve Driscoll. And now with Reynolds going to have the inside into Bridge, I think this is going to be a slam dunk. This move has been repeated 3 or 4 times now. Oh, but Driscoll's finally learned. He holds him back.
This just brings Mark Torres even closer into this battle as Mark tries to get on the gas brake a little bit harder, deeper into the Bridge or Pryor corner in Brooklands as they go down through Luffield. Mark Torres is just trying his best to find a move to get around Blake Reynolds. And Lionel Castillo is just holding his lane right now and just watching the excellent show between these 3 drivers.
Yeah, Callisto, excuse me. You got me saying it. Callisto, a little ways back from them. He's about 2 seconds. So if they do start fighting some more, it could now become a 4-car battle. But these 3 staying in position so far, nobody really able to affect a pass despite Reynolds' best efforts.
Yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with Driscoll. I'll tell you what, tip of the cap to Driscoll for playing some pretty good defense there when he needed to, keeping Blake Reynolds behind. And Reynolds still looking for opportunity here. I don't think this fight is over. I think Kalista. Oh boy, watch out!
Avoidance maneuver from Blake Reynolds, but he gets the spot anyways.
Nice.
As a hairy moment for Steve Driscoll coming out of Stowe costs him the position. Let's watch the onboard. Look at that. Has to duck back onto the track. Pulls off to the side at the last moment and leaves him behind.
Wow.
That gave us a good view there, looking to the side of that Pink Panther that I mentioned. So the story behind that, Sean, I found out, is Steve actually raced in the GT Academy way back in 2011. Well, they had an endurance kart race as a part of that school, and he had food poisoning. Well, he actually gutted out, throwing up in the cart, and went on, I believe, to win the race with his teammates, despite doing so. So the Pink Panther is because of the pink Pepto-Bismol that he was chugging the whole race.
Nice. All right.
That's why he puts it on his car all the time.
Well, that goes to prove anything can happen in a race car, right?
Exactly. Bit of a Mark Webber moment, I guess, for him. Up at the top, you're not missing much. Dallas Pataska, I mentioned he had gained time. Well, Challoner has responded, and they are holding pace together at about 2.8, 2.9 seconds between them, and that hasn't really changed a whole lot since we last looked. They have gapped away from Cameron Dance. That's 7.5 seconds back to the final podium position. So really not a whole lot of action up front. That could change. As we saw in the CTC earlier this morning, Sean, as the stints go on in these cars, the tires start to go off, and handling the cars is a lot more difficult.
Yeah, boy, you start getting up into that 20, 25 lap range with these cars, Joe. It gets even trickier. I mean, we talked about the interesting dynamic at the Lotus 79. It gets even sketchier the deeper you get into the run.
So, and their fastest lap up at the top of the screen. Challoner clearly pushing. He's gained about a tenth over Pataska. Last time by, that was a 1:28.5 for Christian Challoner, which is another quality that we've seen in these cars, Taylor, is the way they speed up as the fuel goes off.
Oh yeah, of course that's with just about any race car. The less fuel in the car, the more speed is going to definitely improve on their time. One guy I've been watching right now is Bobby Zielinski. After his incident, he's been steadily working his way up through the field. He's currently still in the 23rd position, but his lap times are almost close to what Dallas Pataska's been running lap after lap. So he's working his way up through the field. I'm hoping, keeping an eye on him to see if he can make his way somewhere in maybe the top 10 before this race is said and done.
You know, Pfeiffer just kind of hanging on the 15th back here. Jeff Schmeier giving him the business, man. Schmeier, look, taking a look here. Maybe down in the Stowe, and he's going to get it, man. Schmeier been working on that for, better part of about 2.5 laps now, and now Schmeier's up 10 spots into 15th.
Indeed, that's going to put a big smile on his face. And Jimbo Pfeiffer and that double aught basically just trying to hold on for now. He's got about 1.5 seconds back to James Stacy, but he's not going to want to lose too much more. We are still only on lap 14 of 64. Still a lot of racing left to go.
Joe, are you doing a second show after this one tonight? 15 minutes set, maybe?
Tip your waitress, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, Joe.
Mark Torres went down into Cobb's corner, no problem at all, almost getting by Steve Driscoll, but Driscoll was able to hold them off as they go down through Beckett's and Chapel Curve coming up. Looks like Steve Driscoll is going to be able to pull away down as they go into the Hanger Straight. Steve has just been doing an excellent job of holding off Mark Torres.
And we should point out that it's not just Driscoll who's dropped back. Torres went from 6th to 8th. So he's trying to get back up there. Clearly not happy with how the car is early in the race as he does start to gain. Coming out of Stowe down into Vale. Seems to be a bit of the Achilles heel from Driscoll, because that's where he nearly lost it in front of Blake, Sean.
Yeah. Again, a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to Steve Driscoll right now. A driver who, again, practiced well this week, had a strong qualifying effort, and right now just seems to be missing his marks just a bit.
A little bit farther up the course, Corbin also giving us a bit of a show as he's rocked up to the back of the 027. Vincent Leherbier taking that iconic number from his countryman, Gilles Villeneuve, as he's told us, and getting a nice run down the front stretch into Copse. Corbin a little bit too far back, but continuing to gain time bit by bit on that green machine from the Workiva team.
It looks like that Vincent and Scott are kind of working together to try to catch up to Cameron Dance. I've noticed that they've just been using a draft also, especially on the Hanger Straight, to gain up as much time as they've been closing in on Cameron Dance. So maybe a little bit of teamwork strategy also going on for those two.
Very much could be, as Corbin, like you mentioned, from the other side of the Workiva team out here in the majors, but they all very much work together. Of course, James King doing a lot of work behind the scenes to organize those guys. Excuse me, John King, pardon me. Apologies for that. Things spreading out a little bit in the midfield. There are a few battles, including Jimbo Pfeiffer being overtaken by James Stacy. I mentioned that gap. That gap is not only gone, but has reversed.
Also, Bob Beltrami and, see here, Brian Bennett been
getting by, yeah.
Yeah, Bennett put on an excellent move going through that corner, but Beltrami's trying to get back on it as they go down into Abbey by the looks of it.
Stay on this battle, but up at the top of the screen, Challoner with another fastest lap, continuing to increase the pace. That is Brian Barnes following behind. Now, has he got a painter to give him a popsicle car yet? That's the question. Hey, someone's painted it up for him. All right, that makes me happy.
Tell you what, watching Beltrami as he's just diving into those corners trying to catch up to Bennett is just almost hair-raising. It's almost like, is he going to be able to make it stick or wash up to where it lets Brian Barnes come in? As Bobby Zelensky's going to make a move now on Brian Barnes as they go down into Copse corner. Zelensky's going to use the draft to try to make a move down into Copse. Going to stay single file for the moment. Zelensky looks to the outside. Nope, not going to make the move as they head down into... looks to the inside as they go into Beckett.
That looked like a big lift to me from Barnes. Not wanting to fight a driver he knows is much faster. Lets him go on his way. Now, the thing that I found curious is that Zelensky was able to follow in the wake of Barnes very closely through Copshon. And this car known for making it kind of tough to follow closely. So I'm kind of amazed that he did that.
Yeah, the wake is real, and you don't want to get into it of that car in front of you. Really, you will lose that downforce on the front wing. It's still a really good battle, but boy, Corbin got by Leherbier just a couple of laps ago, and Leherbier is now in trouble. Blake Reynolds has caught him, and then Reynolds just made a small mistake there getting into Copse.
This is the closer battle that we're watching right now between Zelensky and the car of Bennett just ahead of him. Zelensky disposed of Beltrami pretty quickly.
Looks like Zelensky's got a good run out of Woodcote and is now going to try to make a move. Looks like now that Bennett's going to try to hold off on the inside and make a move, but Zelensky is just using that draft to the best as they go into Copse, single file. Zelensky's looked to the outside, but is not going to be able to make a move as they head down into Maggots. No problem at all, still single file at the moment.
And while this happened, we missed a pass between Callisto and another driver. I didn't see who that was. Let's see if we can find. We've got a replay. Well, he actually had a spin.
Yeah, he did. Richie Hearn got past him. Callisto had a little trouble there.
That moves Callisto down to 11th.
Here it is on the
current
replay.
Champion. Yeah, we're watching it on board. Oh, a little too much curb, it looked like. Through Maggots. Coming back live. Ooh, let's go to Bennett and Celeste. Oh, and Callisto with another problem. Oh, my goodness.
Nice.
So that's Dick Mueller able to make a pass on him. Mueller having gained quite a few positions, if I'm not mistaken.
Tell you what, Brian Bennett's putting on a heck of a fight against the peak antifreeze driver of Bobby Zelensky, and it looks like Beltrami is also going to try to get into the mix, but it looks like now Zelensky's got a good run going out of Luffield into Woodcoats as they're heading down the front straightaway. Zelensky's going to try to make a run, but it looks like Bennett put a little bit of a block on as they go down into Cops.
Yeah, came back to that racing line kind of late. Oh, but he doesn't get a good run out of Cops. Here comes Zelensky. Does he dare try and take it side by side? No, he does not. Through the Maggots and Beckett sequence, he has been diving every which way to try and get past the Alliance driver of Bennett.
Good run for Zelensky as they go down to the hangar straight. Zelensky looks to the outside. Nope, going to dive back in. Thinking about it. He's going to now look to the inside as they head down into Stowe. Brian Bennett still able to hold him off, though. Zelensky's trying to find that way. He's having a tough fight right now with Bennett, though.
Sean, every time he ducks out, it almost looks like he loses time when he's not in the slipstream. I wonder if Bennett maybe has more wing in the car.
Well, good point. And, here we go. Zelensky now going to try and make this move permanent here. Nope. Not going to get it. Not enough momentum there. But yeah, Joe, wing could have everything to do with that.
There he goes.
There we go. Now Zelensky gets it. And watch out. Here comes Beltrami.
Off like a shot. So, unfortunately, Brian has to call out, "Dang it, Bobby," as he gets through up to P18. Up in fifth, you were talking about that battle a little bit earlier. Leherbier, Reynolds still going at it. Riding shotgun and Rakiva quickly becoming rivals in this series.
Quickly, indeed. And Reynolds takes a look there and lets the Canadian survive for just a little bit longer here.
I think it was more a case of Vincent looking shaky on entry, and not so much that Reynolds took a look.
Yeah, that's what it looked like from my end. It looks like that Reynolds went a little bit wide out of Club Corner as they head down to Abbey.
Let's see if Reynolds has anything for him into Priory. He's not alongside, not willing to take a dive down into that left-hander.
See all that turf that Leherbier kicked up into Blake's cockpit there?
I'd be a little frustrated with
That's
that.
rude. That's rude.
He's trying to add a little bit of weight to the car, you know?
Yeah.
Don't have to go to it, but Ray Partridge had a little self-spin into the Maggots-Beckett sequence. Actually, he started to go down the wrong circuit before he eventually came back to the track. Actually, maybe it is worth pulling this one up. This is almost exactly what we saw in the CTC earlier today, except Partridge didn't cut the course, but he started to head down what is, I believe, the north course. Gets a little bit out of sorts here, Sean, and watch this. That's not the right way to go.
Looking for the track, looking for the track.
This doesn't look right. This isn't familiar.
Looking for the track.
Poor guy.
We're still looking for the track.
Yeah,
Hang on.
He's going to hate us after he goes back and watches the broadcast on this.
And we're back to the track. Okay, now, no. Okay, yes, we found it.
Yeah, this is correct.
This looks like the track. Okay.
Poor Ray.
Sorry, Ray.
The Dog Bear Red driver is...
we're laughing with you.
Exactly. I'm sure he's got a sense of humor about that one. Meanwhile, Reynolds still hasn't been able to dispose of Leherbier for that fifth spot. Remember, Reynolds trying to get a championship this season. We talk about it almost every race. But his main rival, instead of being Callisto this season, has been Challoner. And Challoner is up multiple positions ahead of him, looking to gain yet more points on his main title rival.
Torres just got by Driscoll. Torres back into eighth here.
Wow, Driscoll qualifying third, now down into ninth. Looking at the replay.
Yeah, no, Driscoll. Oh, Driscoll makes a mistake here. Yeah, there we go. Driscoll spins. Torres comes right around.
Gonna watch from on board Torres's view and see how quickly it will come up on the car, the ground that he gains from this spin. There goes the smoke, and then suddenly there's a car.
That's got to be nerve-wracking for drivers, especially when you don't know when that car is going to either stop or it's just going to keep on moving, and you got to make a split-second decision to determine whether you're going to even make it through or end up in the garage.
So the MS car, unfortunately, losing quite a bit of time there and very much struggling with the handling. Now, speaking of MS, that's another thing about the livery of Driscoll that is worth mentioning. His wife actually has multiple sclerosis, which is what MS stands for. Hence, the MS organization plastered all over his car. And if you can, actually, he's asked us to mention that the National MS Society has a website, nationalmssociety.org/donate. Go and check that out. Again, that is nationalmssociety.org/donate, that you can help fight for the cause to cure this horrible disease. Now, we take a look back at Challenger once again in that Shadow liveried car, or at least Shadow-esque livery card. Now, 4.1 seconds over Pataska, if I'm looking at our graphics. So he is starting to stretch it out from the number 94.
This is a good opportunity for Christian to start maybe doing a little fuel conservation mode, maybe even save up on those tires where he can start pulling away even a little bit more and maybe even put a little less fuel in the car when it comes to those pit stops.
Oh, Beltrami had an issue. Bobby Zielinski just set the fastest lap, but Bob Beltrami losing multiple positions in an incident very similar to what we saw to Steve Driscoll not long ago, just a corner away from that, I think. 2 corners away. 3 corners away, actually.
Lost it in left field. That's one of those low-speed corners where if you don't apply the right amount of throttle control, you're going to lose it real quickly. So looks like Beltrami learned it the hard way on that one.
That demotes the Salami down to 21st, sadly. I have to wonder, Sean, if we're going to see that sort of race of attrition or race of errors in some of the top drivers as things go on and the tires get more and more worn out. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but that's now quite a few drivers that have looped it around. So is this a case of just back it off to about 98%?
Yeah, well, it is, Joe, but we're in that window right now when I talked about the tires really starting to fall off tremendously. And we're, 22 laps in the books right now, working on 23, and I think that's our biggest factor. As we're on screen here with Zielinski trying to get a run at Schmeier again.
I think that's Stacy, actually.
That's my bad.
Black and white car to Stacy to the inside as Zielinski down into Copse, maybe looking for the over-under. This time he's able to carry his momentum. We saw him back out of a move into Maggots Beckett's before, and this time he does again.
Stacy maybe a little defensive there. That was the way he came back cross track. Just doesn't open the door for Zielinski at all. Now Zielinski's going to come through, kicking and screaming. Not quite.
More and more, I am convinced that Zielinski has a whole heaping of wing on that car, because everybody that he gets behind, he can just launch off of the fast corners, looking like the car is supremely planted. Oh, and P3 up for grabs.
And Corbin just gets by Cameron Dance. Here comes L'Herbier.
Wow. And where did Reynolds go in all of this? He's dropped off the back of L'Herbier. Still, Cameron not done with the car of Scott Corbin. He wants to take back that 3rd place. He ducks it down to the inside and Copse in a brave and gutsy move. That's going to cost Scott Corbin another place as Vincent L'Herbier streams by.
Almost looked like a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact almost as they went into Copse corner, but looks like they got away cleanly as best as they could as Scott Corbin now comes. Oh, makes contact!
Right
contact! Oh, my goodness.
And that's both Workiva cars taking damage. Vincent L'Herbier and Scott Corbin come out the worst, and Blake Reynolds sneaks through into 4th.
Yeah, L'Herbier's
damage, though.
Yeah, L'Herbier's got some wing damage. Scott Corbin, I'm trying to see how much damage he has got.
You're going to see Reynolds there. He's going to get some damage as he gets by, but boy, a really unfortunate incident for those two. Jeez.
And the sad news is Corbin had so much damage that he had to take a tow. He is slipping down the order as we watch one more angle on it. Oh, yeah, that is big wing damage on Reynolds.
Yeah. And he already had just a slight amount of damage, but That's pretty exaggerated. Now. He's
goes
really
from-
have trouble catching dance.
It goes from bad to worse for L'Herbier. He must have had some suspension damage because coming off of club, he had another spin. He's slipped down to 8th now.
You had to bring up attrition, right, Joe? You just brought that up moments ago.
I don't think that one is commentator's curse. I think that's just this car. I'm gonna unload that one off of me.
All right. Okay, I'll let you have it.
Does L'Herbier come in, maybe? No, he's going to stick to plan. He stays out. Okay, so a damaged Blake Reynolds sitting in 4th. 9.2 seconds back to the other Workiva car of Mark Torres, Sean. Does he gain on him? Does he run him down?
I think his mirror might be a bit bigger concern right now because it seems like Driscoll's kind of gotten things back together here. He's starting to turn some good laps again, Joe. And, of course, Driscoll being chased by Warling here. So I think Torres has got a lot more to worry about behind him right now than he does in front of him. Maybe they'll push him. Maybe get his pace up. Maybe he's got a chance.
We'll have to wait and see as we stare through the fog, watching them work their way around and out of club. Driscoll still hanging on to the gearbox of Mark Torres, the New Jersey driver. Oh, very much under threat down into bridge. No move from Steve Driscoll. Stays in his tire tracks. Still haven't even hit halfway through this race. If you're wondering, we talked about that attrition. I only see one for sure DNF. That is Clark Archer for now, which is sad to see the road ringer fall out. But Scott Corbin, Archer's back out there.
Yes, he is, Joe. He rode out that pit stop. He's back on track.
There's Corbin is the only one that I'm seeing that is sitting in the pits, and he might actually still come back out. I'm not sure if he's trying to take repairs, but he's going to be a long ways down. Meanwhile, speaking of the pits, Vincent L'Herbier
he's all new.
Come in to try and repair that damage.
He's gone to the backup car, off the trailer and on the pit lane.
Speak of the devil, Scott Corbin. I said we don't know if he's getting repairs. Yes, he did get repairs. He's back out.
Lengthy stop, though. Almost 3 minutes, just under.
Yeah, he was in there for quite a while. L'Herbier returns back out on the track in 19th spot. I assume from here that he try and go to the end. That's just about halfway, a little bit early.
P5 heating up.
Oh, yeah, indeed.
Looks like Warling is going to try to make a move on Driscoll, but Driscoll is more focused on trying to get around Mark Torres as they head down into Luffield. Alpha Luffield into Woodcote. Mark Torres still holding strong. Driscoll just trying to find a way to get by Mark Torres. Mark Torres has been doing excellent work just holding him off, and pretty soon, though, we'll be having to deal with some pit stops. As Driscoll makes a dive bomb down into Copps, gets into the grass, loses it. See if he gets back on track. This gives opportunity for Warling now as they head down into Maggots. Warling trying to find an opportunity as they go now into Beckett's. No opportunity for him. And no, he's going to just keep the same positions at the moment as they head down the Hanger Straights.
Just a little bit too far back to take advantage. He is getting a little bit of a slipstream up the Stowe, but once again, I think it looks like Warling's going to have to stay patient. So we understand we missed a pass. Sean, did you see what happened out there?
I did, and it's Brian McGreevy getting himself up in a 10th after battling with Dick Mueller for a little bit. And listen, Brian's having a solid race, man. He's got himself in the top 10. Finally, he's going to get him on the inside. You'll see him make the move in and stick it. He gets that corner exit just perfect. Rockets up in the 10th, and now McGreevy started 17th. Like I said, it's having a top 10 run.
Speaking of rockets, I'd say our top two are in a whole nother stratosphere. look at the gap between second and third, Sean. Pataska to Dance, 21 seconds.
Yeah.
That is crushing. We're not even done with this race.
Yeah, and you know, Joe, in the Atlantic region, Eric Smith won by 50 seconds going away, and we may see the battle between second and third. Who knows? It may be more than that. So, because let's face it, Pataska's not letting Challoner absolutely just run away from this thing. He's he was faster that last lap around, so he's still challenging.
Yeah, I'm glad we've got someone giving us a little bit of show at the top, making sure that Challoner stays under pressure. Closest fight on track still for that 5th place between the 3 cars of Torres, Driscoll, and Warling. This is going to be a good run for Warling, well within the slipstream of Driscoll. Driscoll as well, reeling in Torres. Now they come down to bridge. A big lift coming through. That checkup causes all the cars to have to back out of it.
Big, hard braking into Brooklands as Mark Torres just trying to find his way to hold off Driscoll. Warling now tries to go to the outside line, try to use that momentum out of Luffield into Woodcote, but still not going to be able to make that pass on Driscoll as they head down the front straightaway into Cops Corner.
We'll stay on this, but we just saw Pataska go purple at the top of the screen yet again. Both drivers at the front of the field giving it full beams, and neither one letting up.
Pataska, the first one, go to 128 flat. He's moving.
On board with Warling. He's the last in the train of these 3 fighting for 5th. And we had an incident with Mueller. Single car off at Cops, it looks like. We've got the replay. Very reminiscent of what we saw at the start of the race with Zelensky. Turn the car in, and the car turned the other way.
Yeah, and I think that's the 3rd time we've seen that, not just Zelensky.
Another fastest lap from Dallas Pataska. My goodness. Well, instead of the red mist with us being in England, he's got the white mist down.
Driscoll gets really loose. It's like it's off before Luffield, so right around Brooklands, Driscoll gets real loose, but able to recover, still holding on to 6th position.
Ooh, another lurid slide coming out of Brooklands for Driscoll. Denies him an opportunity on Torres. Warling sizing him up, seeing if he could slide through somewhere, but so far, no dice as they go past the lapped car of Clark Archer. Excuse me, I was on replay. So that happened just a bit ago.
Joe, everybody's still in this race. 26 cars started, 26 cars. Still rolling, buddy.
Glad to see that. And a good field here out for the vintage car, getting one split for this series. There was a lot of talk before this season wanting to get at least one vintage car. They got 2 of them in, and Challoner responds. Now he sets the fastest lap, holding him at bay at about 4 seconds.
It looks like now Mark Torres is under pressure. Driscoll now making a move as they head down into Brooklands now. Brooklyn is going to be able to, Driscoll's holding him off as they go into Luffield. Torres just able to hold him off now as Warling is looking for that opportunity for one of them two to make a mistake, but nothing has changed on this position, on this battle. Still, Mark Torres still holding on to 5th position.
Hey, let's look at the battle for 17th real quick. I'm sorry, Joe.
Well, that is exactly where I was wanting to go, because Dick Mueller unfortunately got contact from Zelensky, and he is now in the thick of this between LaHerbier and Bennett. There you see Mueller's able to continue, but had a hard knock to the rear from the car of Zelensky, so he's probably got more damage now.
Okay,
We
we've
got the
actually got a
replay.
replay. Now remember, L'Herbier is recovering here. Oh, there's Mueller going around there. The contact with Zelensky.
Zelensky's recovering as well. Both drivers trying to come back through. But L'Herbier has also taken his pit stop. So we think he can go to the end.
Yeah.
Jeff Schmeier, I believe, is in as well.
Yes. Oh, and our leader's in. Here we go.
Ooh, both of
Challenger,
them.
Pataska, both of them, follow suit here. I think
Interesting
Pataska
stuff.
knows this is his best way of staying in touch with Challenger. Go in with him.
Well, this is exactly halfway. Remember, I mentioned that they are teammates outside of this series. I think they're on team strategy here of sorts.
Sure. That would absolutely make sense. Pataska had a little bit of wing damage. That gets repaired. He's got a clean car. Both are down off the jack. We're waiting for him to roll. There he goes.
I think
Challenger rolling.
I think they both took fuel. The way they sat there in the stall afterwards. It's about 38 seconds, we understand. Cone to cone.
Yeah, they were just under, Joe. A 36.8 for Challenger, 36.2 for Pataska. Fuel.
All right, so if our leaders think that that's the fastest way, you have to imagine that the other drivers need to follow suit, although at this point, you basically set your strategy at the start on that. Let's go to 15th.
Yeah, Bennett really close to losing this spot to Vincent L'Herbier. L'Herbier still putting in the work, man.
Stay with this, but Challenger and Pataska emerge in third and fourth. Such was their lead. L'Herbier all over the gearbox of Brian Bennett. Looks to the inside, down into Copps. Can he stick his nose in? He's just barely up alongside him, but much braver on the brakes on the racing line. Brian Bennett moves himself now, L'Herbier moves himself into 15th.
Ooh, Lana Callisto just getting overtaken by McGreevy. Callisto off the track.
Yeah, that was a self-spin into Vale with a hard
There he
knock
goes again.
to the tires. This
Well,
is not
here's
the
the
first
replay.
time he's had damage.
Where he noses it in hard here, Joe. Yeah, that's why he had trouble getting rolling again, obviously. That's not good. He's going to hit the top of the curb right there, yeah.
He's limping it home now. But now he has been demoted to 13th. The driver we haven't talked about a whole lot, the number 70 of Richie Hearn, comes in for his pit
Halfway.
stop.
Right
Just past halfway.
Yeah, just past the halfway mark, he decides to come in. Richie's been having a quiet race, but he's had a good race, and that was his concern, making sure he was solid to the finish.
So you're trying to think, are there any other Elite West drivers here in the top split for this one? You know, obviously, Richie usually up at the front of things for any open wheel car. In fact, any car, I would say, in this series. He's very fast. But just doesn't seem to like this car and track combination. He was complaining quite a bit about his distaste for trying to get the handling right. He mostly just wants to finish solidly.
Come right out in front of L'Herbier. So nothing like having a lot of pressure right after the pit stop.
Cameron Dance is now coming down pit road to get his car serviced. And it looks like also Blake Reynolds. So we will now circle back to Christian Challenger and Dallas Pataska back up to the front.
On the screen, we did catch the pass there that L'Herbier was able to get by Richie Hearn. There's Challenger retaking the lead. Dallas Pataska being promoted back up into second. Now, interestingly, Driscoll is behind Pataska, but Driscoll is yet to make his stop. Who's that that they're trying to get around? That's Beltrami being lapped. Indeed, this battle for what is now third, I guess, second, is trying to stream its way through Dallas Pataska, who might have fresher tires, but is a lot heavier on fuel than these guys. Driscoll's able to clear him. Torres not yet. Travis Worling actually trying to get past Torres now. So Sean, with the heavy weight of the car causing it to maybe handle a little awkwardly, I almost wonder if we're looking at drivers wanting to make the overcut if they're battling closely with someone.
You're dead on. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, I think the overcut is probably the call. Based on how we've seen the cars react today, definitely. Warling's in. We still don't even know.
Driscoll's off.
Jeez.
Driscoll out of Cop's corner. Driver error. We're watching the replay. This time he didn't put it out in the AstroTurf. That was just trying to find the power too hard, Taylor.
Sure looks like that as well. It seems like that Cobb's corner has been the most difficult spot for making sure to just make sure not put enough power down. As we see on board, Driscoll just went a little bit off of the curb and then just lost it and went off for a ride down into the grass.
Yeah, lucky he lost it there with that safety road starting to open up and a lot of grass off to the right because, early on that entry there, there's just Armco barrier to the right. That's it, about 5 feet off track. Bobby Zielinski is in his stall.
For the second time today, we should mention his early incident sent him in there before. He's back out now. Glancing through the field to see how it's all stacking up here in the midst of the pit stops. We'll run you through some of the field once we get through with the pit stops. The point that we were about to make before Driscoll's spin was that he's trying to get to the end of this race potentially, we think, without a pit stop. Right now he sits in fourth. And so I should mention, he's got 18 seconds over Cameron Dance, who has made his stop. So even though there's a lot of racing left, it's not looking too bad for the 62.
No, not at all. With a pit stop strategy like that, as Steve Driscoll, he is able to make some interesting position gains in this matter, as we see now Travis Warling going down pit road, coming off now.
Now, we're trying to figure out if Zielinski didn't plan to have that second stop. Did he hit something along the way? Going back to check to see if there was some unexpected issues for that plain orange machine. And I'm not seeing any spins or clatter with the wall or another car. It looks like a scheduled stop for Bobby for me. Another driver up at the top that is yet to pit is right in front of Driscoll. That's Mark Torres, the 05. Rakiva Kinetic car. Kind of curious if he's trying to go to the end.
Well, and that just came up in the chat too. Somebody else said that. Oh no, and just as we say that, he comes in.
That I would count as a commentator's curse.
So much for that.
Robs us of the battle between himself and Driscoll. Let's see.
Last down there.
Yeah, it is. Last cars to pit. Trevor Clement in 7th. Jimbo Pfeiffer in 10th. Brian Bennett in 12th. And Brian Barnes in 14th. Wayne Hutchison also is yet to pit. The last car on track in that position. He sits in at 19th.
And he's got Challoner at his back door. Oh, no.
Richie Hearn. This was into Luffield. You're going to hear him get on the power here. And as he corrects it with a power slide, the car catches when he doesn't want it. Has to whip it back around on track.
That's a dangerous move to make, to try to whip it around and back on track, especially when you have a spin like that in a left field. Drivers coming around so quickly in that corner, so he's got to make sure that no one's coming around, otherwise it's going to cause a major incident.
Let's see, are all the Alliance cars trying to not stop?
Well, this is an interesting thing you speak of, Joe, because right now the Alliance cars have not stopped.
Curiouser and curiouser. I kind of hoped that we'd see some variance out there, and the Alliance team delivering for us. Oh, Bennett has a spin. Where is this one? This is coming out of club.
Maybe the Alliance drivers need to think about getting a stop pin.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's one of those Alliance drivers with old tires. Well, that demotes Brian down to 14th position. 71 is able to continue since he didn't hit anything. Sean, I really hope they bring these cars back again next year.
Yeah.
I love seeing these vintage cars out racing more, especially in full-length Grand Prix. Brian Barnes, you see, going up on the jacks, taking tires. Does he pull out? Does he need fuel? Yes, he does.
Joe, I think we need more retro races. Retro is cool.
Absolutely. Well, we saw the Camel GT cars at the start of the year, and that was a load of fun. That at Daytona, that they raced both the Audi GTO and the Nissan GTP. This is the second one, I believe, they've ever done for vintage series out here. The only other vintage car out on the service, though, is the Lotus 49, one of my loves on the service. And I know there's some drivers that don't want it on there, but let me tell you, it is a lot of fun despite the challenge. So crossing my fingers. That gap between Driscoll and Dance, am I not mistaken, wasn't that 18 seconds not long ago? I'm pretty certain that it was a smaller gap than it is now.
No, it was definitely smaller.
So we were talking about the overcut, the fact that the heavy fuel tends to slow the car down more than the tires speed it up. That gives another notch towards a possibility of no stopping being effective. You're on lighter fuel for longer. Well, I guess actually maybe, I take that back. My logic might be flawed there.
Well, you just saw Driscoll get around Wayne Hutchinson. Here's a bit of a comparison, all right? That was to put Wayne a lap down, but Wayne hasn't taken a stop either. So, pace has a little bit to do with that, but what's impressive is we've seen Driscoll make some mistakes today, and he still continues to push hard and holding down third place right now. And if he decides to go with that no stop strategy, I think he's got a podium as long as he keep the car on the track.
On screen, we're seeing one of those no stoppers, Zielinski attacking Bennett. Sorry, there, Taylor. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, I was looking at the timesheets with Pataska and Driscoll is slowly gaining up on Pataska. That last lap he ran was a 28.6 compared to Dallas's 29.0. So it's going to get pretty interesting watching these two as the laps start winding down a little bit more.
Across the start-finish line one more time through Copse. Zielinski has had an adventure of a race. And it was mentioned, I believe it was you that mentioned, Taylor, that he's a pro driver on the oval side. Is that correct?
Yeah, he runs in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, doing an excellent job running in this season. Plus, also, though, the guy does have road experience as he also competes in the Sox Out Racing V8 Super Trucks, putting a dominating performance in that series. So, Bobby Zielinski, when it comes to road racing, is no slouch at all.
Well, we're used to seeing that with those pro oval guys as he tries to go the long way around Bennett, but doesn't quite work. Both Challoner and Reynolds, two other pros on the oval side, coming over here and dominating in the majors, even in the road rounds. Zelensky with a bit of a run, but as we keep seeing time after time, Zelensky lacking straight line speed. He's going to try and dive it in down into Priory. He's given space at the apex by Bennett. He doesn't want to try and tangle with him. Ooh, let's see if he can gun it off of these slow corners. Cones getting knocked everywhere by Bennett. Doing it the hard way. Wow.
Curious.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you're hearing that Zelensky is a rallycross beast, too. Jeez, what can't the guy do?
Good drivers are good drivers, I suppose. So, Zelensky flexing his muscles here in the Lotus 79 to get into 12th. Now, McGreevy, I think, did he just come out of the pits? No, he did not. It looked like it from what we saw.
Got off.
He had
an off. I think we're going to catch it.
Cops for about the 5th or 6th time. Seen many drivers lose it through here.
Boy, that was fortunate. He really gets away with one here, Joe. You see where that car was heading. It was heading right for that arm go barrier. He's able to drive it out. Wow.
It's fortunate, Sean. Not terrible and not tragic, thankfully.
Thankfully. Battle for second. Driscoll is there.
Oh, wow.
That's where he's been all day. Just competing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because that Pataska came out right in front of him. I forgot about that and all that we've been watching. Boy, if Driscoll makes this no-stopper work.
He was handbagging early on. No, he was taking care of the car. Obviously, He was saving it for this, right? He was saving it for this. So a bit of a strategy call there for Driscoll. But, man, he's fighting now. For the first time today, I think Pataska feeling really challenged here.
My hat's off to Steve Driscoll. He is the fastest of the cars on a no-stop strategy. We believe a no-stop strategy, we should say. Although at this point, if he pits, that would effectively ruin everything.
Looking at the lap times between those two, Pataska ran a 29.3, while Driscoll a 28.5. So Driscoll really using this no-stop race as a major advantage for him as they head down into Beckett's, into the Chapel Curves. And Driscoll might try to use that draft as they head down to the Hanger Straits to make an opportunity pass into Stowe.
Now, I believe, here's the interesting thing, Sean. I was going to look at the lap times. Driscoll spun after the pit stop, and it was immediately after the pit stop that we saw him behind Pataska. So this means he's actually had better pace than Dallas and has run him down. If I'm understanding correctly, I might be wrong here.
Well, no, comparatively, I'm looking at some laps right now, and Joe, he's been turning 28s here for the last half a dozen laps, and Pataska turning 29s. So now this has come from just good hard work by Driscoll.
So despite abusing the tires enough that he spun out, he clearly has got a fast car underneath him. That number 62 continuing to threaten the 94. Oh no, and he's coming in.
Well, so much for that. I'm with our director.
That was unexpected.
The Boo Birds are out. The Boo Birds are out.
Well, yeah, and I thought for sure that he was going to the end. This just doesn't seem to make sense to me unless there's a cliff on the tires that we don't know about. Let's see. Does he take fuel, though? He's not getting tires. This is fuel only, I think.
Well, and
wow.
Then maybe somebody missed the mark on what they needed for fuel.
Let's see. He was only there for 8 seconds.
Yeah, he's going to come out in 4th.
I'm curious.
Cameron Dance, almost 3 seconds ahead of him.
Well, that's only one position lost.
Yeah, that's true. Now, he did have about a just over 25-second advantage going in. He definitely he can catch Cam. He's got some work to do here. Plenty of time left. Just over 20 laps now left to go.
But man, that would have been an awesome battle to watch, Driscoll and Pataska. But hey, like you were saying, we still have 20 to go. Anything can happen.
Hey, you know, our 4th place finisher in the European split, Tapani Linalaluto in here telling us that there really is no cliff on the tires, Joe.
Glad to get a little bit of input from some of our regulars in the CTC. A big shout out to Tapani. We're glad to see him joining in on the viewing.
He says the old ones are actually better after the pit stop.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm going to trust that dude because he's good.
Are you sure? Maybe. Are you sure he's not trolling everybody, trying to convince drivers to make a mistake?
He could be doing that too.
Can't trust those Finns, right?
He did finish 4th, which was shocking to me, to be honest with you, that he finished that far down the order.
But still, the European split known for its road racers. So I'd say it's more impressive that he finished in 4th and shows the speed that the CTC has. Meanwhile, on screen, that was Zelensky passing up Richie Hearn. One pro passes another.
Trevor Clement gave up the ghost. He's in.
Is anybody going to attempt a no-stopper? Bennett's still out there, and Hutchison has yet to stop. Pfeiffer, our highest no-stopper.
Natsu Zelensky's going to go try and catch right now, unless Jimbo takes that pit. Now, Jimbo just went to 9th, gets 5 Clement as he was coming out of the pit.
Double Ott, we think maybe taking double Ott tires. I think this might be as good a time as any to maybe run through the field, or what do you guys think? Should we wait?
Yeah, we haven't done that, I don't think.
It'd be a good time to do that.
Why don't we start with our leader, Christian Challoner. That gap has come down a bit since we last looked. It's about 3.2 seconds between Christian, who's led the whole race, and second place, Dallas Pataska. Dallas threatened a little bit by Driscoll before. Driscoll eventually took his stop that we weren't expecting, at least up here in the booth. That has promoted the car of Cameron Dance up to 3rd, but that's about the best that Cameron is going to hope for unless a major error is made by the driver's head. Cameron is 27 seconds behind the number 94 of Pataska. Steve Driscoll, having taken what we are pretty sure will be his only stop, still retains 4th, even though he was in 3rd before the stop. Been a good day for the driver who started 3rd. He's only lost 1 position. And his tires, according to our viewers, are going to be a lot better now, despite only taking fuel on that stop. 5th place, Blake Reynolds. Uncharacteristically low for him, but he's within striking distance of Driscoll, about 2 seconds back if he can turn up the wick to try and run him down. Sean, what's the next 5 and the top 10 look like?
Well, I know what it looks like for Travis Warning. Clear ahead, clear behind right now. He is he's got 6th place, the number 900. He's got 6th place nailed down right now, and almost 12 laps into his run since the pit stop, and things looking pretty good there. He's got decent pace right now, and like I said, a real comfortable cushion. Now I'm going to go back to Vincent Labriere, who, as this has kind of turned into a bit of a recovery race for him, but he does hang on in 7th right now. Kind of in the same situation, a little bit of time behind him, a lot of time in front of him, unfortunately. About 16 seconds to up to Warling. So there he rides in 7th with 18 laps to go across the line. Mark Torres in 8th. He is down a couple spots. The New Jersey driver had some fun today, maybe a couple moments that he'd like to take back, but right now it's 8th place for Mark Torres. Then we go down to 9th, and it's Jimbo Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer, the Alliance driver, still out there, still with no pit stop, Joe. It is now 46 laps he'll be working on across the line on fuel and tires. Trevor Clement now in 10th. He started 15th in this race. Trevor just, 4.5 seconds behind Jimbo Pfeiffer. So Trevor, though, got a little company, as I do see our 11th place driver in his mirror, Travis.
Yep, Bobby Zelensky is closing in on Trevor Clemens and just moving in completely. Still got a lot of ways to go, though, so let's keep an eye on him. In the 12th position is Brian Bennett. He's just pretty much by himself, moving on through the field. No problems at all for him at the moment. Currently about a minute back, but 3 seconds behind Bobby Zielinski. In the 13th place, Brian McGreary holding on by himself right now. With a little bit of company though, as it looks like the the leader of Christian Chalanier is closing in on him. Right behind him in the 14th car, Mr. Richie Hearn in that 70 Lotus, as he is by himself. Been having a quiet race also. Had a little bit of incidents early on in the race, but is making a steady recovery as he is the first car 1 lap down. And then in the 15th position, in that number 2 car, Lionel Caslisto, as he is holding on as the second car 1 lap down. He's got a little bit of drivers behind him as well. It was James Stacy and Jeff Schreimer moving in on the position.
Yeah, Stacy sitting in 16th. We've seen him in a few battles, but unfortunately has not been able to pick up the pace. As mentioned, a lap down now. Jeff Schreier as well was able to overtake, I believe it was Jimbo Pfeiffer earlier on, but Pfeiffer is way up the order compared to Schreier. Schreier now down in 17th. Wayne Hutchison, a little bit lower than we're used to seeing him as well. The number 17 sitting in 18th, interestingly. Brian Barnes in the popsicle car we've come to love. The number 4 sits in 19th position. These are all cars that are a lap down. Most of the field starting to lose out to the leader, but still fighting hard. Dick Mueller is behind him. We've watched Dick go off a number of times. Still, he's keeping at it. I almost think he deserves a Dory Award today. He sits with a top 20, Sean.
All right, and then we'll take the last several drivers here. Bob Beltrami, 21st. Scott Corbin right now, 22nd. And again, we're pretty fortunate. We still have all these cars on track to talk about. Rob Gall in 23rd. And then these are the cars that are a lap down right now. You've got Gustavo Cianferrani in 24th. Clark Archer, after early trouble, long pit stop, got the car back out on track, and he is still in 25th. And then Ray Partridge going to round out this 26-car field, and he sits about 3 laps down right now, Ray does.
And as we were going through the field, we missed a bit of a pass for 10th. Bobby Zielinski continuing his climb. He got by Trevor Clement, and he's actually left a bit of the dust. Let's see the pass here on the hanger straight.
He just powers on by him right here, Joe.
That gap since then, which was maybe about a minute or two ago, already a 1.5 seconds. That 781 is flying. 14 laps to go here at Silverstone. If you're just joining us, we're watching the classic British Grand Prix. Today's round of the majors. Unlike the last one, if you watched the 24 Hours of Le Mans, this one is for points. We are back to the regular championship. It's been Christian Chalanier up at the front since the drop of the green. He has had pressure kept on him by the number 94 of Dallas Pataska. It's almost seeming like it's just a matter of time before we see a win from Dallas. He has stormed into this series.
Yeah, watching Dallas Pataska, the kid knows how to drive. I've raced with him against him personally in several other series, and just puts on a dominating performance. Even been able to go toe-to-toe with even some professional NASCAR drivers on the side in other series. So Dallas Pataska definitely knows what it takes to go head-to-head with some of the big names in SimRacing.
You know, a little bit further back in the field, Dick Mueller hanging on the 20th right now. Bob Beltrami's pace is not bad, but they've got the problem right now with Cameron Dance in their mirrors, and he's closing quick. This could do a little something to this battle here. Beltrami's got to be careful. Beltrami breaking deep there into Brooklyn's going to try and get out of left field clean.
This
so
car,
tough to get the power down out of there, Joe.
Yeah, just like we saw with Mueller, who puts it way off into the AstroTurf. And this is where he's got to be careful. You saw there, Sean, that there can be big differences in braking zones and styles of driving in this car. Yeah,
Beltrami just giving it a run. Bob Bob's not had the best day, but it hadn't been bad either. He is still digging. He sees Dance in his mirror, but he's got no choice. He's got to race. That's a position in front of him. That's a position he wants. He is so close to getting this spot, too.
Well, and Dance doesn't want to be held up either because Driscoll is starting to gain with all the time that Cameron is losing. He's within a second now. He gets one car between them. Up to the dog bear machine. He comes. Cameron trying to demote the car of Dick Mueller and can't get through. This is costing him yet more time. Driscoll has now rocked up to the back of this train.
Driscoll's chance for the podium right here in front of him. Got to get through Bob Beltrami.
Wow, these guys are really stuck. Neither Beltrami. Oh, sticks his nose in, and he spins. Both cars going around. And there goes Driscoll. Not only goes by the car for position, but manages to lap each car that he wanted to get by. We're going to watch on board Cameron. I believe there is going to be a few harsh words from Dance with that lapped car.
Maybe. Driscoll gets himself back on the podium, though, Joe, with just under 13 laps to go now. We're still on this replay here.
Oh, Reynolds being overtaken by Warling. This is for 5th position, if I'm not mistaken. Was Warling ahead or behind him not long ago? They were side by side. He was behind him.
Yeah,
Warling. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Warling is pulling away as they go down the hangar straight. Blake Reynolds, though, trying to get back on him as they go into Stowe. But it looks like Warling is able. Oh, Warling gets a little bit wide, though, closing in Blake Reynolds a little bit as they head down near. So we got a replay right quick. Let's take a look at the replay.
And that was Dick Mueller again. Now, Dick a little bit more innocent on this one as he just kind of lost the car in front of Blake, and that caused him to check up. That's what kicked off the pass.
Traffic becoming a major factor for some of these lead lap cars to try to make up position and make up ground. Some for the good and then some for the not so good, as we saw like with Cameron Dance.
Sounds like one of the Elite West drivers has had more trouble here, Sean.
Yeah, Richie Hearn had a little bit more trouble. We have caught it actually on the replay. He's going to hate that. Richie's just gonna have a little bit of trouble here. The car is, you see, keeps it tight there. Out of Woodcut and down the front straightaway, everything's smooth, but Stowe's going to catch him.
Well, that was through cops that he just went through, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he'll be happy if we come back live.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. We'll go back live.
We have to give Richie a little bit of slack here as he called the CTC race this morning with this car and just did an Indy 500 with you guys not more than a few hours ago. It's been a long day for the guy. So we're now down to the final 10 laps of this race. Been a bit of a slog for some. Others pushing incredibly hard all race long. Challoner and Pataska come to mind. Now 33 seconds between themselves and Driscoll.
Even though with that spin that Cameron Dance had, Cameron Dance is still closing in. He's about a little under a second and a half behind Driscoll. So Cameron Dance is not done with this fight between himself and Steve Driscoll, but he's still got to get around Beltrami. It looks like now he's going to try to make a move as they go down the front straightaway into Cobb's corner.
Giving him a wide berth there out of Woodcote. But yeah, you have to remember that Dance has fresher tires. Or actually, no, yeah, he does have fresher tires because Driscoll did not take any on his stop. I wonder if that's what's making the difference here.
Maybe. Obviously something is, Joe. I don't know, man. Driscoll's been a strange one to figure out this race, hasn't he? When he's the fastest car on track, and the next it's like, all right, what's going on?
And speaking of strange ones, Jimbo Pfeiffer in that double aught does have a top 10, and he really does have a no-stop strategy going. I can't imagine. I said it last time, but I feel pretty certain this time. If he pit now, it would make 0 sense.
Yes, it would. He's got a 4-second gap between him and Trevor Clement. I'm sorry. Man, I'm getting loopy, Joe.
You pulled the bill for us.
I did. Oh, I gotta stop that. Pfeiffer though, Pfeiffer in 10th and hanging on, really trying to make this. Brian Bennett back there in 12. Not too, I 16 and a half seconds behind, but Bennett also on that no-stop strategy.
Exactly. Both of them making it work. I mean, they're mid-pack, but Bennett started 16th. He's sitting 12th. Where did Jimbo Pfeiffer start? He started 14th. He's up to 10th, yeah. They both gained positions. If they can hold on to that, that's still a positive in my book.
That's a good day at the office. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
All right. As we watch Pfeiffer work his way through, we've switched up to Challoner. Still holding it at 3.5 seconds. What a fight this has been. I know for some viewers it's not the most thrilling because they really haven't been racing side to side, but Challoner and Pataska, Taylor, this has been almost a pressure cooker. It's a game of who makes the fewest mistakes, who can hold this pace the longest, because I'm amazed.
Looks like we got something going on now, actually right now.
Herbie A.
Herbie A.
Torres got him here. I think we got a replay of it, see what happened. Herbie A has a problem. He spins it, yeah.
Another case of, I think, a little bit too much curb. Oh, no, he started spinning before the curb there, and Beckett's turns it completely around. Hands a spot over. Watching it from on board.
Yeah, it just looks like he got a little bit too much curb, went a little bit into the grassy part of that curb, and just lost it. So,
and that lets Torres drop him by almost 2 seconds now.
Kinetic Boys just having a difficult night with some of these instances with these cars, other than with Challoner and Pataska, who are part of that team as a side group for this series. But other than that, it's just been a little bit difficult. Mark Torres carrying the banner with those kinetic colors.
Certainly is. Boy, and what a disappointment for that team, Sean, after we've talked about them so much all season long and how great they've been doing in the points. I think we may have found their Achilles heel finally.
Blake Reynolds here. Travis Warling, I'm sorry. Right. Oh, no, it's not my bad. That's Brian.
That's a lapped car, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Look at your timing and scoring, Sean.
He's got to get by him anyway. Makes a pass.
8 laps left to go. We keep mentioning it, and it is worth repeating if you're just joining us. The gap between the leaders does not mean this is over. It might be 3.5 seconds from Challoner to Pataska. These cars do not handle well with old, worn-out tires. You have to take care of them. We don't know whether or not either of those two could be struggling to hold on to it. We haven't really given them a lot of screen time. We don't know if they're being a little twitchy out there. We ride on board with Pataska now, looking ahead at a lapped car.
Yeah, but it looks like Pataska is just trying to be as smooth as possible as they head down into Club Corner. Just being as smooth as possible. Is he going to get by the lap car? Can't pick up the number of that one.
That's Trevor Clement.
Trevor Clement. Yep.
Jeez, Clement.
Clement just...
See, once it starts, you can't...
It's over.
Trevor, I'm so sorry, Trevor. I really am.
We talked about this before the broadcast.
I know, we did, I know.
But yeah, Dallas definitely, as Bill likes to say, trying to make himself blended whiskey here. Just be as smooth as he can to bring that car home. Maybe try and catch Challoner out. He knows he's got no threat from behind. Driscoll, nowhere to be seen. No threat whatsoever.
And the thing is, with road course racing, a 3-second gap is actually a close battle going on, actually, to compare to an oval race where maybe a 0.3 of a second is a close battle. So this is actually really good racing between these top two drivers.
and especially close for this long of a race. That means their pace is incredibly tight. Sean, a little bit farther down the field, you found some action.
Well, yeah, Rob Gall just got around Dick Miller, and they were wheel to wheel, man. These two still fighting hard at the back of the pack. They're a couple laps down, but again, a spirited battle between the two. Gall just getting by Mueller. Those two were at it for a couple laps before he was able to finally pull the move off.
Mueller must have made a major mistake because he's actually now 9 seconds back from Gall. So he must have dipped another wheel in the dirt, had another problem.
Well, part of that problem might have been Challoner getting by him. Challoner just got by him. So he might have taken an evasive move just to get out of the way.
Taylor, I know you know these guys that used to be part of Blackadder pretty well. Challoner, I've noticed, has an American flag on his car. Now, he hails from the UK&I Club. I mean, is there a story behind this one?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. I really only raced with Christian a couple of times, really, in league races in the Cup cars, but not that I'm aware of. I'll have to look into that and ask him about that, so I'll get a story on that for you after the race.
Jumping farther back, McGreevy within half a second of one of our no-stoppers, Brian Bennett. 71 has got to tiptoe his way to the finish line and fend off from a very fast number 68.
I hope he doesn't get in any tulips along the way.
That's the Dutch Grand Prix.
Oh, okay.
I believe over here, Poppies, the popular one over in England. So down into Stowe they go. McGreevy not able to gain any ground through there. He's running out of laps, so he's going to have to get a little bit closer if he wants to get on the attack. Not really missing much else through the field. I'm looking at all of our gaps. There's really nothing closer. This is it.
Yeah, you know, Travis Worling is starting to put in some better laps all of a sudden here really late. He's starting to close the gap to Dance. Got it right out of second right now, Joe, and the last lap definitely faster. I think Dance might be under a threat here in these last 5 laps of the race.
Dance has got to be kicking himself, thinking I could have had a podium. I was up there. And then that lap traffic, unfortunately, causing him headaches. Not only has he lost third, but as mentioned, his 4th place under threat from the 900 car. Laps ticking down. You can see on your screen now down to 5 to go. We have all of 9 cars left on the lead lap.
I'm looking at Dallas Pataska and Christian Challoner's times. Dallas ran about almost a little under 3/10 quicker than Challoner that last lap, 28:29 compared to Challoner's 28:52. So he's reeling them in little by little. So these small 4 laps to go, we might have ourselves a battle on our hands.
And I hope our viewers are watching the chat. Tapani Linuluto giving some great info there in the chat about the car and how it reacts over the long run.
We gotta get Tapani up in the booth, apparently.
We do, yeah.
So,
Dance off
in the wall.
Trouble out of club.
And this was another one where he was by himself, a watch on board. What happens? The car just starts to get a little loose. He corrects once. That is a testament to how twitchy these cars is, how you described it there, Taylor, earlier on.
Yeah, it looks like he also clipped the curb just a little bit too much, but looking at the car right now of Cameron Dance, that car has seen better days. It's got a little bit of nose damage, wing damage in the rear, probably even a little bit of suspension damage, so I don't know if Cameron's going to come in a pit road or not. Watching to see if we get by pit road. No, it looks like he's going to stay out. Finish it off, maybe.
This Indeed, and this makes life easier for two drivers. Warling doesn't have to worry about trying to make a pass. You see him on screen, and earlier we saw the other one that gained a position. Blake Reynolds back into the top five.
Top five, right, and he had been chasing that really, really hard, but Warling kept opening things up there, and it became just impossible. So Cam's spin there really, really helping out Blake a lot.
This is also an opportunity for Mark Torres to try to gain some ground. He is a little bit farther back, about maybe 10 seconds back from Cameron, so Cameron needs to be mindful. Mark Torres closing in on him.
We're getting our leaders coming across the line again, and I think Pataska lost more that lap. This time by Challoner with a 28.3. Pataska, oh no, he did gain about a tenth, 28.2.
The only problem is that Rob Gall's between him and Challoner now, and that's, you know, you got to get around the guy. Gall, he catches him in a great spot.
Yeah.
Another problem is there's only 3 laps left to go, so he is running out of time. So the time is now for Dallas to start dropping the hammer down.
It is always one thing to catch a driver. It is another to pass them, and with how close these two have seemed on pace, it looks like he probably is putting a little too late, is Dallas Pataska. Penultimate lap, next time by the line. Right on board with Pataska. Get at him, swing through bridge and into Priory. Gap still coming down slightly, though. It's now down to 2.0 seconds.
Yeah, it's just a little competition amongst friends, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they can afford a spin as long as they don't hit anything with 38 seconds over Steve Driscoll.
They can afford a pit stop at this point.
Pretty much, yeah. Speaking of pit stops, Pfeiffer still in that 10th spot, still hasn't come in for a stop. He's committed.
His teammate still there in 12th. No pit stop. Brian Bennett.
Last time by, Challoner at a 28.3, Pataska at a 28 flat. Whew.
That pressure is building now. It's only a matter of time. If we had a few more laps, I would have loved to see what happened, but it might be too late for Pataska.
I mean, you have to wonder.
That's the absolute limit, too, because we've seen nobody go 127.
I kind of wonder, something we haven't talked about, since Pataska wasn't gaining ground the rest of the race, is Challoner saving fuel maybe? Did he get it just ever so slightly off?
It could be a possibility, you know, maybe that wrong calculation where I missed just maybe a small bit of gas.
Oh, and is fourth? No, fourth isn't heating up. Fourth is over. Reynolds has passed Warling.
We've got a replay of it here. Well, it's going to be Warling that makes the... Well, what happened? Warling out of the pits?
I think it was another error. Stowe, indeed, the car goes around. Wow.
Man, Stowe has just been killer, man. Wow.
Excuse me, Cops, not Stowe.
Yeah, it is Cops.
Oh, look at that, guys. Up the top. Challoner just goes 127.9. There we go.
That answers that.
Yep, that answers.
He must have been listening to the broadcast.
Obviously.
White flag is out when he set that fastest lap. Christian Challoner working his way down the hangar straight. He's increased it back to 2.3 over his main rival this whole race. Dallas Pataska has got to hope for a mistake, for some lap traffic, for that fuel to actually be close to being out. Because at this point, he is not nearly close enough to attack. He hasn't been since the early days of the race. And despite his best efforts, he's only going to have to settle for a second place from what it looks like through Abbey for Christian Challoner. One last time up and over the Cresta Bridge and braking for Priory. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him. That's Bobby Zelensky ready to go a lap down. Does our leader. Probably doesn't even want to bother trying to lap him at this point. Just take it home around Luffield. One last corner. It's flat out through Woodcote. Christian Challoner takes yet another win here in the majors.
Reynolds trying to hang on for fourth, Joe. He had a scary moment there, but here he comes. His approach to club, got to be careful. He was a little loose. And boy, Worland getting a run at him here. This could be trouble.
Heading down into bridge. They go. Worland really wants it back from that ride-in shotgun Lotus 79. Takes a little bit of a shallow entry into Priory, and I think that hurts him, as it looks like Blake Reynolds stretching it away slightly. Indeed, he has no answer, so Reynolds recovers to a well-earned fourth to try and keep himself in the hunt, even though he's going to lose points. But it is even closer between Torres and Leherbier. This is teammates once again. Torres holds him off coming into the technical final section. Bob Beltrami is up ahead of him. He's trying to potentially pull out of the way of these guys. Doesn't want to get caught up in this fight. Leherbier looking for a pick from Beltrami. But Torres is going to take it at the line for 7th.
That's good finish for Torres there.
Zelensky is going to be able to come home on the lead lap despite having 2 stops and being right down to the wire on that one. So with that, we're going to take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But stick around, because on screen you're going to see all of the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Silverstone, where we just watched the classic British Grand Prix here with the majors. It was the Pacific split, the top split that we just watched. And in the end, as it's been for many races this season, Christian Challenger managed another win. This time, though, he did not run away with it like he has at other times. Dallas Pataska, less than 2 seconds behind at the line. Look at that. Dallas might not be in the Drivers' Championship for points, but he's certainly looking to take a few away from Christian. Steve Driscoll, a late pit stop paid off for him, and he manages to get a podium after starting in the exact same spot. Can't complain about that. Blake Reynolds as well can't complain. He may not have had the qualifying pace having started 13th, but 4th place. What a climb by the 66. Still, it's looking like he'll have a tough time trying to take the championship this year up against Challenger. Travis Warling finished behind them in 5th place, having starting 2nd. Mistakes costing him throughout the race. Cameron Dance as well, slipping down to 6th after being much higher, and he started in 9th, so that's a what could have been moment for him. Mark Torres finishes in 7th with Vincent Leherbier coming home in 8th, having some damage at one point in the race. Bobby Zelensky, a first lap, first corner incident put him under the gun, but he still recovered to 9th. Top 10 is the first car lap down. Jimbo Pfeiffer, the top car to not take a pit stop this race. Sean?
Trevor Clement going to finish 11th in the 111. It's all about the ones for him except for the top spot. Brian Bennett will finish 12th. Brian McGreevy, 13th. 14th for the little train, Lionel Callisto, that's where he winds up. James Stacy, 15th. Richie Hearn, former IndyCar driver there, finishes 16th today. Jeff Schmeier, 17th. Brian Barnes with an 18th place finish. Wayne Hutchinson, also no stops this race, and finishes 19th. And Bob Beltrami, for the most part, kept the salami on the pizza there, Joe. He'll finish 20th.
And then rounding out your rest of your field, and 21st goes to Rob Gall, 2 laps down, along with Dick Mueller and Scott Corbin. Scott Corbin having a little difficult situations early on with a teammate. Next up would be Clark Archer, finishing 24th. Gustavo Cifarni, also in 25th, having a difficult race. And rounding out your 26th car field, 3 laps down, Ray Partridge.
We've got our winner waiting to talk to us, Christian Challenger, really actually spraying the champagne, or at least virtually so, since he's at a track where they do that for F1, in an F1 car. And Christian, even though you led most of the race, except for, I think, at pit stops briefly, you had some pressure from Dallas the whole way. Did you guys work together on that setup and in practice? Because you seemed incredibly evenly matched.
Yeah, he's my oval teammate, and he's been wanting to do some more road stuff, and we've been messing around with a couple of things. So we did some races in the Radical recently, and we found that this thing drives pretty similar to that. And he was wanting to do some more road things, so he's been kind of getting a bit more involved with the stuff I've been doing, the stuff the Kinetic guys have been doing. So yeah, we're on I think nigh on identical setup right there. Maybe click a wing angle difference, something like that. But I mean, he was really fast. Like he was saying at the end, like, was I saving? And I'm like, no, I was going like as hard as I could go.
But we asked that same question. We wondered, and then suddenly you turned it up with 1 lap to go. We saw, so that answered that question. Now, a curious question for you that we were wondering about. You've got an American flag on your car. What's the story behind that? Or is that just part of the livery that you didn't notice and left on there?
Has it still got the UOP scheme on there on the broadcast?
Yes, it does.
Okay, yeah, this because my Trading Paints one hasn't loaded. I swapped it right after I joined the session for a Kinetic one, so that'll be why that's happened. But I just like that scheme, and I've been running it in practice. I
see. All right. Well, the championship is looking more and more likely for you, and Dallas might steal some points, but I have to imagine you're a little grateful that he's not in the hunt for that.
Yeah, no. I mean, it would be a really good fight if he was. I think we keep slowly chipping away at the points lead, but then some things just happen that kind of make it even harder for us. Like Blake finished 4th, and I think 2 laps from the end he was 6th. So we'd lose another 10 points. Well, we don't lose another 10 points, but it's 10 points that we would have gained that we didn't, kind of thing. It's really hard to really make ground on him, because even weeks where he looks like he's struggling a bit, he gets the car home and he basically doesn't make mistakes. So it's been difficult to try and run him down. Hopefully we can get to him. got a couple of races coming up where we should be pretty good. So I think it's possible. It'll be difficult though, and it's probably going to be really close all the way to the end.
Well, that'll make it just like it was last year. Then congratulations on the win, Christian. Hope to see you next round.
Thank you.
That was our winner, Christian Challoner, here in the Lotus 79. And Sean is caught up with the driver that chased him the whole way, Dallas Pataska.
Dallas, was that the plan to follow Christian, or was the plan to try and win?
I definitely didn't want to follow him, but between lap traffic and not qualifying as well as I would have intended, I kind of had to settle for that, and I kept trying to chip away. I knew I was at least matching his times. I didn't get there in time. I wanted to win, and if I had gotten there, I would have tried to make a move, especially since we had such a big gap behind us. But I gave it all I had, and we came up a little bit short, but it's always rewarding anytime you run that you're better with a guy like Christian. So I'm more than happy with this finish.
What do you think about driving this Lotus 79? Did you have fun out there?
Oh, it was an absolute blast. I mean, those last couple laps on low fuel and tires are hooked up. It was definitely something that I don't know if I'll do again, but if the situation arises, it was a ton of fun.
You're not ready to join the official series, then, is what you're saying? Not quite yet.
Yeah, that's correct. I'll stick to the once a year deal.
Well, this track certainly a classic. Been around forever. Where do you think your worst spot on the track was today?
Oh, well, that's a tough one, because I think a lot of it kind of depends on where the cars are, because if there's lap traffic somewhere, that automatically is your worst spot. But I think the last two corners, or really the last sector, was where I was struggling. I just couldn't find a rhythm. I had to keep searching to see what was going to work for me, and I feel like that was where, if any spot, that's where Christian was really beating me. The last couple laps, I started to figure it out when I really started to reel him in, but that was by far the tough spot, because there's so many different lines that you can take, so many different approaches, and it's hard to really nail one down consistently.
Well, Christian assured us that you got a couple races coming up here that kind of favor you guys, so I'm hoping that means more success for the team, huh?
Yeah, that's always the plan. Although I think really any place we go, working with Christian and whatnot, I feel like we can be at least a top 5 car anywhere with pretty much anything. That's just the good group of guys that we have, and that's the approach going into every race.
Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go, Dallas?
Just the guys over at Kinetic for letting me work with them, and Christian for some of the tips throughout the week and practice and whatnot, and of course you guys for putting on a fantastic broadcast. I watched some of the earlier regions, and it was very enjoyable, and I'll look forward to watching this one as well.
All right, and that is Dallas Pataska. We thank him for joining us, and I believe Taylor has caught up with Steve Driscoll, who had quite a race himself, 3rd place.
Yeah, Steve, you've had some ups, you've had some downs, but in the end, you came home in the podium finish with a 3rd place. Tell us how you feel about that.
Well, I just wanted to, Danny Sullivan was always a fan of mine, and I thought a spin and win would be good, but, I'll take a spin and a podium. That's not too bad.
No, it's not. So we also were like to notice about how you were running that special paint scheme, backing with the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. Big thanks for you running that. I know that's always been a special place for you to and understand. So that was excellent. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my wife was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis several years ago, and I've been part of the community for about 6 years now, and just trying to bring awareness to it. A lot of people in the Western Hemisphere have it, and just there's not a lot of awareness. So I just wanted to run that livery just to bring attention to it, and hopefully some people will go to multiplesclerosis.com/donate if they like to help out with the cause.
Yeah, that also has a special place doing that. My father also has that, so it's always a special thing to see something like that. Keep people keeping aware of that. So, but also, let's talk a little bit more about the race. You had that 3rd place run. What was the most difficult part of the track for you?
Easily the last section there. This, for some reason, during practice, I was fine. And during the race, I just had massive understeer. I think I was losing 3/4 of or half a second each lap there. And I was playing with the anti-roll bars to try to get it back, but I could never get it perfect. But luckily, with the pit strategy I had, I was able to make up for it.
All right. And one more thing I wanted to ask was, were you going to try and go all the way without fuel, or did you just that was your plan when you came to pit road later on in that race?
With this pit strategy, that was kind of the plan. I was thinking traffic was going to be an issue. So my idea was just to get 10 clean laps after everybody pitted and just try to jump everybody that way, kind of the reverse of what happens every Saturday or Sunday with F1. So it was worth the shot, and it seems to actually work because I had 5 or 6 seconds less on pit road, and that's kind of the difference between me and 4th place.
Yeah, it was. And then congratulations again. Looking forward to seeing you at the next round at Spa.
Thank you very much.
All right, up next, with that being our podium finishers, we have the man who is just off of that, Blake Reynolds, who has been fighting hard all race long to get to where he did. So we have to ask Blake, considering you both had damage and started in 13th, does 4th feel like a win to you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, yeah, riding shotgun did not have any qualifying pace this week. We just struggled really hard. But Clark Archer worked really hard in the race set, and I just drove from 14th to 4th. That's pretty good.
I'd say so. Now, the bad news is that Challoner still finished ahead of you, him being kind of your main rival of this season. He seems to downplay some of the championship hopes despite him taking quite a few wins so far. What are your feelings on it? I know obviously you want to make up for last year. Are you feeling upbeat as opposed to him?
He could probably downplay all he wants, but I think he's going to be there at the end. And considering the last race is an oval race, and I know how we're both pros in oval, I think it's going to be quite the race at the end, since it's the super late model.
All right. Well, we are looking forward to that because that is certainly a unique one we don't get to cover a lot here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Commiserations on just missing the podium, but again, congratulations on a drive that really impressed us up here in the booth.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
That was 4th place Blake Reynolds, who still feels happy, even though he finished behind his main title rival. So with that, we are going to close up here today. A big thank you goes out not only to Mike Willett, but his entire team of staff here for the majors that make these events go off. And thank you to the majors themselves for bringing GSRC on board for the coverage of the Pacific region. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Also, thanks to the team today, Amjad, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page. There's a big red subscribe button that if you hit that, you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC, because then you'll get all of our upcoming races in your YouTube feed. The next race, well, it's 10 tops instead of these open wheel cars, 2.4 hours of Spa. That'll be Sunday, August 5th at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.